What is up, everybody? This is Anthony with VR Game Rankings, and of course, this is Daily Vlog Live for Sunday, July 22nd. I am a little bit late on the draw here, but we are in the house. I know some people might have checked in and thought, oh, maybe no show today, but no, there is a show today. Hold on a second here. Of course, I am getting everything dialed in. Like always, this is kind of how we start these things. If you tune into this show, oftentimes, well, actually, if you watch the live stream that is archived on my channel, typically you might want to skip about 5 minutes ahead. I usually will put the real start, what I call the real start, because usually in the first couple of minutes here, there's lots of little issues. That just seems to be the standard scenario here. So I hope I'm live. Don't see anybody in chat yet. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Let's see here. Yeah, I do believe that I am live, so hopefully everything's working. If somebody could maybe tell me if you see me, you hear me, those kinds of things, that's always good before I get too far along. Okay, we have Lethal Weasel VR is in the house, saying hello. Jason Walker, afternoon. Roy Schwartz, I'm here. Okay, so I'm assuming you guys can hear me and everything sounds relatively decent. All right. So for today's show, have audio and video. Okay. Of course, my chat is a little bit jacked. I'm going to leave it the way it is right now and then maybe mess with it a little bit later. Okay, so for today's show, honestly, I don't have anything. I do not have, well, what I did was I did get something ready at the last minute, but I don't have like news stories and all of that. And honestly, I was debating whether or not I would just tweet out and say, no show today. And I thought, nah, you know what? I can hop on for a little while. I mean, even if it's just for 25 minutes or something, you know, I can hop on real quick. Not a big deal. But I do have an announcement to make related to this daily vlog live. So Tuesday, there will not be a show at 10 a.m. There will not be a show on Tuesday at 10 a.m. I have a lot of stuff that I have to deal with on Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon. There's a slight possibility that I will actually do a nighttime show. I'm talking nighttime Pacific, maybe 8 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesday evening, which will be a totally different ball game. Not a totally different ball game. It's going to be the same damn thing it always is, but just as a nighttime show, maybe there will be a different audience of people that could possibly tune in. And, you know, obviously, a lot of you people that are in the UK, you're probably going to be in deep REM sleep at 8 p.m. Pacific. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. Lethal Weasel VR says he's going to be playing the Persistence. Yeah, I'm hoping to get my hands on the Persistence too. Don't know if I'll get my hands on it immediately, but hoping to get my hands on the Persistence too. Okay, so today, like I said, didn't really have a topic for today, but what I thought I would talk about is, so I thought I would talk about the best VR experiences, like non-games. How often do we talk about non-games? We hardly ever talk about non-games, and I thought maybe we could talk about some of my all-time favorite, well, not necessarily my all-time favorites, but some VR experiences that really, really speak to me. And so I got a handful of trailers, and so why don't I throw one of these puppies up in here, and we can talk about some of the most awesome VR experiences that you can have, not necessarily games. And so the first one that I just popped up on the screen, let me add a little bit of volume here. We'll see what the volume is. We got people talking. See, if people start talking, I got to turn you down. Oh, I have my desktop on. No, that's muted. Okay. Okay, yeah, so 0 Days VR, I think is freaking awesome. I think this is super, super awesome personally. but it does cost money. You actually have to pay money for this, and see a lot of the VR experiences that we've been getting are like free. And so it's kind of weird when you have to pay money for it. It's kind of like the Blue. Like the Blue is basically a VR experience, and you have to pay money for it. I mean, you could get that little well demo if you sign in and jump through a few hoops. You can do the well demo, but otherwise you have to pay for that. Titanic VR, you have to pay for it. But for the most part, a lot of the experiences we get, you don't have to pay any money at all. And 0 Days VR, I was just tremendously impressed with this. It actually was free at one point, and then I think it became a paid experience. Let me actually, hold on a second here. I'm going to do a quick search and see if they're still, I think they're still charging money for this. So let me just see real quick. But yeah, 0 Days VR, man, super impressive, I thought. And it's also, yeah, it's $5, so it's actually not that bad. $5. I think they were selling it for $9.99 at one point. But one of the cool things about like 0 Days VR is this is something that you could put somebody into that doesn't care about VR at all. And they might be like, well, wow, this is an interesting medium. This is a different way of telling a story and kind of breaking something down. So I really, big time fan of 0 Days VR. And I don't think it's on Steam. Is this still an Oculus exclusive? See, that's kind of a damn shame. I understand the games being exclusive. Let's see, 0 Days VR Steam. Is it on Steam? Oh, it's on Steam now. It's $10 on Steam, though. It's $10 on Steam. You can actually get it on Gear VR for $3. So I'm guessing it would work pretty good on an Oculus Go. But yeah, this is a sweet experience. Really like it. Let's see what people are talking about in chat. Actually, I need to pop out my other chat thing to read it better. Okay, 7X Quantum is playing Pavlov. Lethal Weasel says going to be playing the Persistent. Okay, 7X Quantum, best VR experience is the Oculus Go. So you're just saying like the Oculus Go in general is the best VR experience, or you're getting the best like image quality and all of that? Jason Walker says Apollo 11, played it for my dad and he was amazed. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about that. Yeah, Factory Life is saying he doesn't have one yet. Yeah, I do not have an Oculus Go yet. I would really love to get an Oculus Go. I want to try an Oculus Go because there's a lot of cool things on there. Absolutely want to try an Oculus Go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to one of my next favorite experiences, VR experiences. And this one, let's go to a PlayStation VR experience. And so there is an experience on PlayStation VR. I think it's called like the Joshua Bell experience. And it's basically this guy, Joshua Bell. And he's a violinist. He's like a professional high-end violinist. And they did this special thing called the Joshua Bell experience. That's the guy right there, if you can see on the video there. And if you guys have not seen this on PlayStation VR, I think it is tremendously impressive, because what it does is you really feel like this guy Joshua Bell is maybe just like 4 or 5 feet in front of you. You really feel like he's there. Now, technically, it is a 360-degree experience, but it's really smoke and mirrors is what it is. It's not really a legit 360 experience, but it looks like that. And that's fine. If you can create a smoke and mirrors thing and make it look this freaking good, awesome. But basically what they have is they have that guy Joshua Bell. He's playing on a violin. Then they have a guy on a piano, right over to the side of him. And then you can kind of turn all the way around and you see the studio room back there where like all the engineers are behind the glass and they're kind of in the studio, and you see them moving a little bit. So it kind of gives you this feeling like it's a legit 360 video. But I think what they did here is it's kind of like a combination of photogrammetry, for all of the parts where you don't have a moving person, it's just a static background that they're using, I think. And then what they do is they have like Joshua Bell, and he's like full motion video, almost like that's wrapped around like a 3D character of him or something. It's just really cool how they did it. I thought it was really good. Let's see what folks are saying in chat real quick. Okay, Lethal Weasel VR says Google Earth. Yeah, Google Earth it kind of goes without saying, you know. Chris Gould, Kate Moss and Scent of a Dream. Never heard of that one. Actually, you know what, guys, if you have any recommendations for really good VR experiences, go ahead and post them in chat, because I want to check more of them out, and I also want to improve VR game rankings. We have a little experience page. I haven't done anything with it in forever. I just haven't updated anything in that area, and I really need to update it. You know, I need to add like Anne Frank in there and all that other stuff. Let's see what Jose G. Rodriguez Gonzalez, really long name there. I am waiting for some kind of education VR experience, like really learning to do things from VR. Yeah, you know what I imagine we will be able to learn how to do in VR, and maybe AR would even be better. In fact, AR probably would be better. But imagine all of us have our cars, right? We all have whatever car we're driving. And some of us know how to like change our own oil and change our air filter and things like that. And some of us don't, you know. And so I could imagine, especially for AR, you know, you have your AR headset on, you pop your hood, and it will actually walk you through the process of like changing your air filter, or, you know, whatever it is. Like you'll type in like what the model of your car is, and it'll just walk you right through the entire process. So I do believe we will learn how to do actual different things in VR. So I think that will be coming, Jose. The Mickey Bow 2004, thank you for taking the time to do these live streams. We've been playing a lot of Fallout VR lately. Yeah, you know, I wanted to get into Fallout VR last night, and I had a problem with my Oculus Rift. So, and I think I've solved the issue, so hopefully it's not a problem anymore. But basically what happened was I, you know, turned on all my Oculus stuff, and I got into the Oculus Home, basically, and my controllers were just buzzing like crazy. The controllers were just, zzz, you know, just both of them, just constant buzzing. They wouldn't stop. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? And so I took the batteries out of them, put the batteries back in. They would instantly start buzzing. Couldn't figure out what it was. And I actually did a post in the Oculus subreddit about this. And Oculus support said, try going through the Rift setup process. And if that doesn't work, you know, you can start a support ticket. But this other guy chimed in and said, you know, this happened to me one time, and it happened to me because my Xbox controller was like flipped over, and like the thumbstick was moving, and it caused this buzzing situation, right? And so after I read that little thing that guy chimed in, I went and looked, and sure enough, my Xbox 360 controller, which I use for stuff like Subnautica and stuff like that, it was flipped over, laying on the ground, and so that could be my problem. So I will be checking a little bit later today. But I wanted to hop in Fallout 4 VR because I saw Steve playing Fallout 4 VR yesterday, and I was like, man, I want to get into Fallout 4 VR again. So yeah, I do want to get back into that. Roy Schwartz says Anne Frank experience is educational. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of this stuff is educational. It's just how much educational is it? I mean, I think the blue is educational because people don't know how big a blue whale is compared to you, and that's the value of like scale. You know, VR and scale is the one thing that VR can do. And another thing that's educational, somebody mentioned Google Earth. I think Google Earth is incredibly educational just from a pure geography kind of a standpoint, because the way you could back up, you know, and the world is there, and you can zoom in on the world, and you can see where cities are. Like if I had Google Earth when I was going through like elementary and junior high and all that stuff, and I was like learning geography, I would be so much better at geography if I had something like Google Earth. And they should have like some options in Google Earth where you can just set it to see the capitals of states, and they should kind of maybe bake some stuff in for education. Let's see what else people are talking about over here in chat. Jose says he's been playing a lot of Echo Combat. I have not popped into that since the beta just kicked back on. Probably should pop in there real quick and check it out again. Has anyone played Moss for the Vive, and your thoughts? My only concern with Moss on the Vive would be the controller, because that's the one problem that both the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive have, is they don't have a tracked joypad. And that is one thing that we've learned with PlayStation VR, that a tracked joypad actually does some things. It actually, like I think future VR headsets, like maybe Oculus CV2, maybe it should come with a tracked joypad. Maybe when we have a proper HTC Vive 2, maybe that should come with an actual tracked joypad controller, because I don't think we need to kick third-person gaming off to the side. Third-person gaming is here to stay, but a tracked controller I think helps things out. Okay, I'll get back to chat in a second here, but I'm going to switch the trailer. Let's throw on another experience that really has been incredibly impressive to me. And this is one of my favorites of all time. This is really cool. Okay, so this is Kite and Lightning. They have an experience called Senza Pay, I believe is what it's called. Senza Pay. I thought this was a fabulous experience. If you guys have not tried this, you absolutely have to try this. And the thing about Senza Pay is this put Kite and Lightning on my map. I wasn't really following Kite and Lightning, and they're actually making a game. It's called Babylon Battle Royale or something like that. It's kind of like a kart racer with little babies. It's a weird, it's absolutely bizarre. But they made this. They made Senza Pay, and I thought Senza Pay is fantastic. The way you have to experience Senza Pay is imagine that you've died, right? And so you've died and your soul is like coming out of your body and your soul is like floating in the air. Actually imagine that you're floating, and almost imagine like you're just standing like this and you're just floating along. And that's how you need to experience Senza Pay, and I think it's pretty freaking powerful. I was really impressed by that. I don't know if anybody else was that impressed by that. Let me hop back to chat. Okay, let's see what people... Oh, Charles is saying, I have a go you can try. Yeah, I actually reached out to Oculus just the other day about getting codes for games, and then maybe, I think some of these companies, what they should do is for like all these like YouTube people and stuff, they don't necessarily need to like give you an Oculus Go or give you a Rift. I mean, it'd be awesome if they did, and if you're probably a really huge YouTuber, they just send that shit to you for free. But what they also should do is have a program where you can get it at cost or something. If you're like a legit YouTube type person and you have like even some modicum of an audience, maybe allow those people to get it at cost. It's just I got a lot of expenses that are going on from a lot of different categories. So it's like, yeah, buy a video card, buy an Oculus Go, buy a TP Cast, buy this, buy that. It all adds up after a while. You got to be careful there. Roy Schwartz says, and Frank experience is educational. I mentioned that. Yeah, it absolutely is. I got to scroll back down here. Mad Jim Jaspers, virtual tourism. Yeah, I really, virtual tourism is going to be a big thing in the future. In fact, I honestly, like, I'm talking 30 years from now, I kind of worry a little bit about the travel industry in general, because I think our VR and AR experiences are going to be so powerful and so realistic that the difference between you going to, say, You know where like all the Michelangelo art is, like in Italy and stuff, the Sistine Chapel, or you know, all these different places that people go to like experience this like great artwork and stuff. I think the VR and AR versions of that you can experience in your own home is going to get so photo real and so good that, sure, if you visited in person, it's a little bit better, but you know, you're saving 2 grand in airfare, you know, and you're saving another couple grand in like hotel rooms, you know, to travel from the USA to Europe or whatever. And, or to go to like Egypt. You know, we just had the Nefertari Journey to Eternity, which is cool, but those are going to have to get a million times better. But I think they are. I think they are going to get a million times better. And so virtual tourism is going to be absolutely huge. And it's going to be great from an educational standpoint as well. Hear that loud plane? You guys got to hear this loud plane. See, I live very close to an airport, and this plane, it's a small little, like, you know, those little small plane airports. And these planes fly right over my room all the time, and it really is irritating. Okay, let's see what people are talking about over here. So we've got AR vehicle repair guides. Yeah, that will absolutely happen. I mean, they're probably working on it right now as we speak. Sephiroth, any new or updates on the official HTC Vive Wireless add-on? Yeah, I mean, we're now in the month of July. Where is this add-on? Because I think originally, were they saying August? I thought I heard August a long time ago for the official HTC Vive Wireless add-on. But yeah, what happened to that? That has been kind of quiet on the Western Front. Everyone's gone to the Rapture would benefit from, yeah, you know, all the walking simulators, you know, they call them the walking simulators, right? What's that other one where it's like Campo Santo or whatever is the developer of it? And is it Firewatch? Like, everybody always says Firewatch would be super awesome in VR. I enjoyed The Impatient, but I rented it, didn't buy it. Yeah, that's actually like a diss if you're calling The Impatient an experience and not a game. But in the beginning, it really is just there isn't much game there. I mean, that's true. I was playing The Impatient. I'm like, where's the game? Like, I don't feel like I'm like affecting things. IPCSK says Senza Peso is awesome. Great music, nice. Oh, you know what? I've never had these. Wait, did I have the music on the trailer? I keep forgetting about that. I don't know if this has a guy talking. Yeah, no, I don't think it has a guy. See, I should have had some nice music playing in the background right here, right? Especially if there isn't a guy talking. I keep forgetting about that. But, let's see. Senza Peso is awesome. Great music, nice visuals, must-see experience for everyone. Absolutely. Senza Peso, this is Jose Rod. Senza Peso is kind of weird, but it felt really immersive, like it really pulls you in. Yeah, you just have to imagine, again, you have to imagine you're having basically an out-of-body experience. I mean, Senza Peso is straight up an out-of-body experience. And so you kind of have to, like, get into that idea and that thought. Okay, so here's another experience I really loved. And this is a straight up 360 video, right? Mayubi.
Hello? We're capturing this on video, honey.
My name is Dennis. Dennis. Say Dennis.
Yeah, so Mayubi, you know, so many people talk so much smack about 360 videos, and for good reason, because most of them are absolute garbage. And most of them do VR a disservice. But Mayubi is the exception. Mayubi, see, when I first saw Mayubi, I thought this is the beginning of something special. We need more and more people making stuff like Mayubi. But the big question with stuff like Mayubi is, can they make money off of this thing? I mean, that's where we get into this problem. Now, Oculus probably kicked in a lot of funding on this, and so, you know, it worked out. But But eventually, all these creators like Felix and Paul, they've done such great work, but they have to figure out a way to monetize this to make it sustainable for continued experiences like this. But I thought Mayubi is fantastic. I'm curious, you guys out there with your Oculus Go's, can you do Mayubi on a Go? Because these are the kind of experiences where if you're at like Thanksgiving or something, if you're at some type of party and all your relatives are there, lots of which have never tried any VR whatsoever, you can put them into stuff like Mayubi, and I think that would be pretty impressive. Let's see what people are talking about over here in chat. Echo Combat beta just finished. Is the beta over? It's over. I thought it would go till later, a little bit later today. Chris Gould says, Go is great, but really lacks good gaming content. Now, Chris, have you tried any of the games where you like pair a wireless Xbox controller to it or something, and you play something like Kin, Kin, which is made by House of Secrets? Because I haven't tried Kin on the Go, but I know Steve and Gary have tried Kin, and they've told me that the difference between Kin on the Go and Kin on, say, an Oculus Rift is incredibly minuscule. Like, the difference is not very significant. And I really liked Kin on the Oculus Rift, so being able to just play that on the Go would seem super awesome to me. But yeah, I mean, not a ton of gaming content there yet. Oh, Lethal Weasel VR. I never hear these sounds you mentioned. No airplanes or air conditioners, nothing. Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I can't believe you guys didn't hear that airplane, though, because that was loud as hell. I thought for sure that might come through. But hey, that's wonderful. You guys don't hear that. Chris Gould. Hey, talking of the Go and experiences in art, try Art Plunge on the Go. It is the best experience I have seen in VR. Good to the point of being creepy. Huh, that's interesting. Art Plunge. Never heard of it. Chris Gould says, yeah, I have Kin. Works well on the Go. Yeah, I think it is pretty good on the Go. Charles Van Nolan says, Oculus sent me a Go after I showed them my game engine, but I've been busy finishing up another project and haven't been doing much with the headset yet. Ah, see, he got sent a Go. So Oculus, come on, man, you owe me a Go. Oh, Charles Van Nolan, I heard the plane. Yeah, so somebody heard the plane. So I am not psycho. Best game on the Go is Vendetta, a sort of cut down Elite. Yeah. Yeah, I got to get a Go because, VR Roundtable, we've gotten a lot of codes for various Go games. So there's a lot of stuff I could end up trying on the Go if I just had a Go. So I definitely do need to get a Go. Whether Oculus sends me one or not, I have to eventually get my hands on a Go. So let me throw up another experience that I think is really impressive. And this, of course, is Blade Runner 2049 Memory Lab. This is another great example of like mixing like video screens, mixing backdrops. Look at the way they did these human characters. It kind of reminds me a little bit actually of the Joshua Bell VR experience on Sony in terms of the way they just did the digital characters that are in there. This is Magnopus, I believe, basically did this Blade Runner 2049. I was super impressed with this. Very impressive. I wonder if this is something somebody could do on the Go. I guess you couldn't do this on the Go because it's running, like the actual engine is running on your PC. So they would have to like render this whole thing to like work on the Go, and it wouldn't really work right. That's where like Santa Cruz is going to come in, because then Santa Cruz can do this type of stuff.
Welcome to your memory. Something's wrong. You're in a different memory.
Don't worry. We made you. We'll take care of you.
But I mean, just being in the Blade Runner 2049, like you could just go to the area where you're just kind of standing on the ground, and it's, it's got like the wet pavement and everything, and it's kind of like raining. Like you see how this looks here, and then you see all these like billboards on the screen, like all these cool things. It really is pretty awesome. I think, like 6-7 years from now, experiences like that are just going to be redonkulous. Very powerful. So let's see what people are talking about over here. Hussein X, Chris Gold, what about Republic VR on the go? I bought it, but not yet played it. Looks like a very good game with 10-hour plus campaign. It's funny how many people will buy a game and not play it. Like, it's like they'll buy it and they'll be like, yeah, I'm going to get around to it. What I do is, like, if I'm not going to play it, I'll just wait and then buy it then, But yeah. Charles Van Nolan, I live in about an hour up Highway 80 from Sacramento. Yeah, I know you are local. You said your grandma had her 90th birthday party recently. That is super awesome. That must have been really cool. 90 years old. I mean, imagine the stuff that she's seen. Have you put her in VR? You should have brought your Go and put your 90-year-old grandma in VR. She probably would have been like, holy smokes. Like, I could only imagine. I mean, imagine if any of us live to 90 and what we're going to see at that point in time. It's going to be just crazy. Hussein X says Blade Runner 2049 is on Go, slightly lower quality than Rift version. See, I really need a Go so I can try this crap out. Lethal Weasel VR. I have tons of games I haven't played yet. I sale shop. Yeah, that can get addictive. It can get addictive because if you guys have ever had a collector's mentality, and see, I used to be kind of this collector guy, and I was really into like retro video gaming for a while, right? And I would collect like all these old retro Super Nintendo games and Sega Genesis games. I was even collecting like old video game magazines and stuff. And, you get into this collector mindset. And then when I started playing games on Steam, when I first got my gaming PC, which this was like spring of 2011, and I started going to Steam and all the Steam sales and stuff, what happens is you almost get into this attitude where it's like, oh, I don't own that game, I want to own that game. Oh, I don't own that game, and it almost becomes this collect-a-thon, and you end up having hundreds of games that you buy for like $5, $6, because of all these crazy Steam sales, and you never ever play them. And I think Steam, they know that, like they recognize that, and there's probably thousands of games that are just sitting on everybody's hard drives all over the world that have never been played, but it's kind of this collector mentality. You can get into that collector mentality. Okay, so so Blade Runner 2049, really liked this. Let me throw on a different trailer now. I'm starting to run out of them. I don't know how many more of these I have. I just wanted to grab a few of these experiences that I was really impressed by. Yeah, I only have one more, and this one is a banger. So let's throw this puppy on.
911, what is your location? I need you to speak clearly and tell me where you are. Is there someone there with you? Is there someone that's going to hurt you?
Yes.
I can hear him out front.
They're coming after me!
Okay, police are on their way right now. Is there anything you can grab to defend yourself with?
They're gonna kill me!
Yeah, that's Dispatch. And you want to talk about an impressive VR experience? I really believe Dispatch is super impressive. And the thing about Dispatch is, like, how Stifled recently came out for the Rift, and it's on Steam as well, I believe. So, like, HTC Vive players and Oculus Rift players, you guys can now play Stifled, which was on PlayStation VR. And Stifled has a similar kind of graphical style, but not anywhere as cool as Dispatch. I think if Stifled really looked like Dispatch, like, I want a full game that looks like this with the wireframes and just, that cool style. Really like Dispatch. The sound is so good in this experience. And Dispatch is one of these things where you kind of get a free trial for it, and then if you want to buy additional chapters, they're more money. Let me do a quick search for Dispatch Oculus. One sec here. Dispatch Oculus, yeah, it's not showing me. See, I think you get a couple of. It's free. Dispatch an episodic story told in 4 parts. See, I think a couple of the chapters you got to pay extra for these, right? Yeah, but I thought Dispatch was outstanding, super impressive, really impressive. Now this is another thing where it's not on Steam, I don't think. Let me check. Yeah, no, it's not on Steam, and that's really disappointing. Like, I understand the exclusive game thing a little bit more than I do on experiences. I don't think experiences, like, it's unfortunate that we have exclusive VR experiences. I get the game part of it, because if you're building a platform and you have exclusive games, it's kind of a necessary evil. I mean, that's what the console gaming world is all about. What separates an Xbox One from a PlayStation 4? It's the exclusives. I mean, that's what separates them. And so I kind of understand it. But it sucks that these experiences like Dispatch and Blade Runner 2049 and a lot of them are like locked into Oculus. And, you know, hey, Oculus, they spent a lot of money on it. But you would hope that it would be like a timed exclusive and it would eventually get over to these other platforms. There is a couple of cool trance experiences in the Wave VR. Did anyone try that? Yeah, you know, I did try. I tried the Wave VR, and it is cool. It is cool. It's a cool vibe. You know what? The Wave VR reminds me of, what's the nightclub that they go to in Ready Player One? Like, it's kind of has a little bit of that vibe to it, you know, except like not that incredibly awesome, but, you know, it kind of has a little bit of that vibe to it. But anyway, folks, these are all the trailers I have. I don't think I have any other trailers besides these ones that I've been popping up on here. So now what I could do is I could bounce over. Let's check Reddit. I mean, let's check the Vive subreddit and just see if there's anything popping off. Although I think I was there earlier today and there wasn't nothing going on. Let's see here. Might as well just turn this volume all the way off. Okay. On the Vive subreddit, so the number one thing on the Vive subreddit is Valve isn't attending Gamescom. And so this is that Valve news, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I went ahead and watched this. And what this guy was talking about is that the Valve company that is going to be at Gamescom is actually like this European subsidiary of Valve that has apparently been at Gamescom like every single year. So like this is like no big deal at all. Basically what he's saying is this is just like something that is going to be in a back room. It's only for developers and publishers, and it's probably just like stuff that has nothing to do with anything that we care about, you know, like back room type of stuff, legal ramifications type of stuff, you know, because the European Union, like a lot of you guys are in the European Union, and there's all these special rules and requirements that Valve has to deal with to have all their stuff available all throughout Europe and be in the European Union. There's all these different rules and regulations that we don't have here in the USA that they have to deal with. And so they probably meet with a lot of European publishers and developers at Gamescom in this type of scenario here. So basically kind of raining on the whole Valve going to Gamescom parade. So probably nothing is going to pop out of that as far as we know. So, okay, so you know what? I'm going to throw on some random trailer just to get off Dispatch, but I'm out of trailers. I'm out of trailers, I think. Yeah, I ran through all my trailers. So I'll just go into some of my other folders where I might have some random trailers going on. Let's see. Yeah, I'll throw a Creed trailer on. Creed Rise to Glory. This is somebody's little channel. That intro, this intro that's playing right now, that's like an intro that you can buy. I've seen that intro somewhere. Grumpy Aging Gamer basically said, yeah, I'll pay $10 for that little intro and I'll throw my logo on top of it. Okay, yeah, so Creed Rise to Glory, you know, actually there is some minor news related to Creed Rise to Glory. I was in the PlayStation VR subreddit, and there was this one post that said, Creed Rise to Glory is coming November 21st. Like, it's been dated. Like, this is the date for Creed Rise to Glory. And I was like, oh shit, there's a date for it, you know, like locked in date. And I read into the story, and no, this is not the date. Now, the movie is coming that day, and it is possible that Servios and MGM Interactive, it's possible that they could hold on to this game all the way until that actual movie release date. But I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, I think this game, Creed Rise to Glory, like, this has been demoed so many times at so many different trade shows that they're probably like 90% of their way through this game. I mean, they're probably damn near done with this game. I think this game could come out in August or maybe September, but I think it's actually going to come out maybe late October, like around Halloween or something. And so it'll still be near the Creed movie. But if they do want to piggyback onto the Creed 2 movie's marketing campaign, they would have to actually wait until a little bit deeper in November. But it's kind of like they're just sitting on the game at that point. So, you know, I'm not sure if they're going to do that. But yeah, that was some minor news that I saw. So I'm back on the Vive subreddit. I was just going to see if there's any other anything else in here that was interesting. And not seeing a hell of a lot. Here's a thread. Is Vanishing Realms worth the sticker price in a post-Skyrim VR world? And let me see what this guy's talking about. Okay, I'm very excited to see where VR RPGs go in the future, and for now, Skyrim VR is pretty cool, even though I've put a million hours on the pancake version. Vanishing Realms caught my attention as a fantasy RPG-ish experience that's very well regarded, but I know it's an older title and one that some people feel was sort of placeholder to get a fix until Skyrim VR came around. Yeah, I mean, the quick answer to this is that Vanishing Realms and Skyrim are very, very different, and you should have Vanishing Realms. I think everyone should have Vanishing Realms. Like, the big criticism of Vanishing Realms in the beginning was that it's just ridiculously short. But it's not really that short. I mean, it lasts like 4 hours or whatever. I think if something lasts 4 or 5 hours, like, I think an hour is short. Like, if something only lasts an hour, that's short. Or 2 hours, that's short. Like, you know what game is short? Form. Form is short. That puzzle game, it's like barely an hour. So that is a short game. I don't consider Vanishing Realms like super, super, super short. What is the price on Vanishing Realms right now? Let me check. I think it's usually $19.99. Of course, yeah, it's $19.99. And, you know, if you're going to get into the dungeon crawler thing, Vanishing Realms is obviously like super, super solid in my opinion. But there's also Carnage Chronicles, which is, you know, it's quite similar to Vanishing Realms in certain ways. In some ways, it's a lot better than Vanishing Realms. In other ways, I just think Vanishing Realms, there's something about Vanishing Realms that just has, I don't know, it's kind of hard to, like, put words to exactly what it is about Vanishing Realms that makes it kind of cool. Let me hop over to the Oculus subreddit, see what anybody's saying over here. For people who bought their Rift secondhand, Robo Recall is currently 35% off. Yeah, I mentioned this, I believe, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. Robo Recall is, I believe, $19.99 right now. It's normally $29.99. So yeah, I guess there could be some people that bought an Oculus Rift off Craigslist or eBay, and the codes were already redeemed, so they don't get any of that software. And so, yeah, for those people, they would absolutely want to consider that. One guy has a thread on here. Subnautica is my favorite VR game to date. And I know exactly what this guy's talking about, man, because when I got into Subnautica recently, that was kind of my opinion. Like, I was really blown away by Subnautica, really impressed by that. Carly and the Reaper Man is a daily deal, $14.99, 40% off. Carly and the Reaper Man, so the devs of this game, they hooked me up with a code of this game. But one of the curious things about Carly and the Reaper Man, let me see if I might have the trailer for that still on my computer. Yeah, I got the trailer for this, so why don't I pop it on? So I've got to see what file this was in. Okay, recent stuff. Okay, hold on a sec. I will pop in this little trailer real quick, because I could mention this. Okay, yeah, so here's Carly and the Reaper Man. Yeah, so Odd Raven Studios, they did provide me with a code for this game, and what I didn't realize, though, is like it's local co-op, not online co-op. Like, you need somebody in your house to play this game with, and they don't currently have a mode, as far as I'm aware, where you can just play it solo, like Moss. You know, so you have to have someone in your house that's on a controller, you're in the headset, and it's really cool for that. And I have 2 teenage sons, and they should play that. Well, one of them should play this game with me, but all they play is Fortnite, and I can't get them off of there. And, you know, I don't think they're going to want to play this game, but I think it looks cool. Now, what I've heard, though, is Odd Raven Studios, I heard they're going to kind of patch, excuse me, they're going to kind of patch in some type of single player mode, so you could kind of swap between being the Reaper Man and Carly and kind of swap back and forth, Moss style a little bit. And so I think they're going to add that, and then eventually they might also add like multiplayer co-op. I think somebody was mentioning in the Oculus subreddit that they figured out how to play at multiplayer co-op using some third-party program. Yeah, I've managed to stream with Moonlight to non-local players. Okay, I'm looking at other possible stories on the Oculus subreddit. Any must-have titles since Lone Echo? This is a very new post because there's only one comment. There's a lot of must-have titles since Lone Echo. Red Matter is an Oculus exclusive that is a must-have in my opinion. Brass Tactics is a must-have in my opinion. Beat Saber, Skyrim VR. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that has come out since Lone Echo. But let me go. Oh, Brass Tactics is today's daily deal. I don't know if this was yesterday. Maybe it's expired because that's 18 hours ago. But let me go ahead and hop back into chat, see what people are yapping about. Supersonic Station. Do you think Xbox ever have VR? Do you think Xbox will ever have VR? They told us yes before they launched the Xbox One X, then did a 360 after they sold all the pre-orders of the X. Yeah, well, the situation with Xbox and VR is very simple. Microsoft dodged a hell of a bullet. They dodged a hell of a bullet because the truth of the matter is, and Alan Harrington, where is Alan Harrington? I want to see Alan Harrington again because he was the guy that doesn't like when I start talking about the trough of disillusionment and all that. But in regards to Xbox, the reality is this. For Microsoft to support VR, they cannot just dip their toes in VR. They can't. See, Microsoft can't come out and say, guess what, everybody? You can go get a Microsoft mixed reality headset today and you could plug it right into your Xbox One X and you can go to town. They can't do just that because people expect a level of support with Microsoft. Like if they add VR, they have to add a library of VR games, and they don't have a library of VR games. And to get a library of VR games, they have to get a whole bunch of developers on board developing VR games. And it's going to take at least like 9 to 12, 13, 14 months for a developer to go from scratch to a VR game that is playable and legit. And so Xbox, they have to have this whole ecosystem laid out. And there was a point where there was some pressure on Xbox. That's why at that one E3, it said, you know, high-end VR, and it had Fallout 4 VR, like was in their little clip, you know, at E3, and they were saying, yeah, we're going to have high-fidelity VR and all that. That was in there because at that time, there was considerably more pressure on Xbox to have some type of VR thing. But after that E3 faded away, VR kind of faded away a little bit as well. And there just isn't the hype on VR right now. And that's just the reality of it. And I don't think we should cry about it and moan about it. We just have to realize that, you know, VR is just not going to be a huge thing right now at this minute. But I don't think that's like any reason to start to be like depressed or anything like that. The beautiful thing about this situation that we got going on right now, folks, we are the early adopters. It's very similar to 1993. I had an Atari Jaguar. I had a Panasonic. Well, I didn't have a Panasonic 3DO, but a buddy of mine did. This is in very late 1993. I was playing some really next generation type stuff that a lot of people didn't experience until 1995 and 1996 with PlayStation 1 and Saturn and Nintendo 64. And I got a sneak peek at all of that stuff like 3 years early. And that's the situation that all of us are in right now. We are getting a sneak peek at the future of gaming entertainment right here and right now. We are ahead of the curve. And so, for some of you, that kind of sucks because you don't want to be ahead of the curve. You want to be at the curve when the curve is there and you're getting Cyberpunk 2077 in VR, and you want Red Dead Redemption in VR, and you want Spider-Man in VR and God of War in VR. And that's like 3 years away. We're a little bit early here, you know. So I think that's kind of what we're looking at. So Microsoft, they dodged a bullet because the pressure for them to have VR, that pressure dissipated like you wouldn't believe. And so they probably internally in their offices, they were probably like, whew, we dodged a bullet right there, because we would have had to have all these studios. We have to figure out controller, you know, how are we going to do this? Is it going to be wireless? You know, just so many headaches that they may have had to deal with. They dodged all of that. Now, eventually they know they're going to have to deal with this. They know they're going to have a VR solution at some point, but they dodged a bullet. And so we're not going to see VR with Xbox for a little while here. Let's see what else is people talking about. Another dungeon crawler that no one talks about, Gates of Nowhere. Bit janky at times, but the visuals are fantastic. There's a lot of little VR games that come out that I just miss them. You know, there's a lot of VR games like VR Dungeon Night for the dungeon crawlers. I like this better than Carnage. That's Chris Gould there talking about VR Dungeon Night, which I've heard of VR Dungeon Night, haven't actually played that one. There's a lot of games, man. There is a lot of games. It's very difficult to keep up with all this stuff. Paradise Decay is the only guy that can keep up with all of this stuff. Charles Van Nolan. Cheaper headsets have caused lots of new devs to flock to VR, where they can get a foothold as a reprieve from the saturated indie market. Well, yeah, that's another thing too. There's a lot of developers that can make a name for themselves in VR where they would have never had an opportunity to really make a name for themselves in flat gaming. Or it would have taken them years upon years and years upon years to make a name for themselves. For example, think about Survios. Survios is like a major publisher now in the VR world because they've got raw data, they've got Sprint Vector, you know, they got Electronauts coming out. They've got Creed Rise to Glory. So Survios, I mean, this is a perfect example of a studio that would have been totally ignored in the world of flat gaming, and they are building a reputation and they're building a name for themselves. And I think that is one of the things that a lot of companies could do if they want to try to it's like the first mover's advantage. If they want to get into that market and build a name, build some recognition, and have a library of games, and then they could have sales where you could get the Survios collection where you get Sprint Vector, Raw Data, and Electronauts and Creed are all bundled together. And so they'll be doing these kinds of things as well. Vertigo Games with Arizona Sunshine, they published, I believe, Skyworld, although it was a different developer that made that. So you have some of these companies that are making names for themselves in VR. So that is the one thing they can do. But a lot of them are, you got to have a lot of money to hold you over, because a lot of these companies may be making a name for themselves, but I still don't think a lot of them are profitable. Like, I don't know that Survios is profitable, but they're making a strong name for themselves. They're building a foundation. IPCSK, to the topic of if the VR is dead, I have to say this. Here in UK is so hot and the light outside is for so long, even I don't go sweat into VR at the moment. Yeah, okay, so he's saying it's a weather thing. Yeah, I mean, well, VR in the summer is difficult. It is. It is definitely a little bit more difficult in the summer. VR is nicer when it's colder. Paradise Decay says, I struggle to keep up. Yeah, he's the hardest working guy in showbiz right now, in the VR biz. As far as, I mean, like, dude always has a video for like every game that ever comes out. Paradise, I know you must feel that pressure. Like, does it ever stop being fun for you? Because every once in a while it can almost feel like it's a chore. Like, I gotta play this game, I gotta play that game, I gotta have a take on this, I gotta have. And then if you're doing Let's Plays, like, you feel like you always gotta be on, you know, you always gotta be a personality, and you can't just be quiet for a minute and stuff. So I know how that can be. But let me switch off this trailer. I've been on this Carly and the Reaper Man thing for about a year here. Let's find something else. Let's go back over here. See what's in this one. Yeah, I really need to get a lot more trailers set up, so I'm not in a situation like this. Sorry for the dead air here, folks. Can't find nothing. Oh, you know what? I'll throw the Forest trailer on here. The Forest. This is a game I got to get back to. So this I think is somebody's gameplay video, so I'll turn down the volume. But the Forest VR, man, I really enjoyed this. Like, when we first got our hands on it, I was playing this for a couple of days. But again, it does go back to that scenario where how many survival games can you play simultaneously? Because you know, I was kind of screwing around with Seeking Dawn a little bit. I need to get back into Seeking Dawn. I have not given Seeking Dawn much of a look at all, and so I got to get back into that. And then I was really into Subnautica, which is another one of these survival games. And here's another one, the Forest VR. But I thought it was impressive. I like the style of it, and I would like to get back into the Forest VR. Let's see what's going on over in chat. Paradise Decay is saying, yeah, you can't really enjoy a single game, as you have to look for the next title to play and cover. Yeah, that is the way it is. So many games released daily on Steam, it's hard to get noticed these days. Roy Schwartz says, speaking of Survios, do you think Raw raw data deserves an update to clear up some jank issues. Seems underrated to me. Well, raw data, the interesting thing about raw data is I really loved raw data on the HTC Vive. And then when I got my Oculus Rift, and right now I don't have an HTC Vive anymore, and I was like, oh, I'm going to play some raw data. And I went into raw data on my Rift. Just doesn't feel the same to me on the Rift. It just doesn't feel right on the Rift. I don't know. There's something about raw data on the Rift doesn't quite do it for me. But then the interesting thing is raw data came out on PlayStation VR. And I believe there was a demo somewhere. I don't know if it was on like the demo disc. I don't know if it was on demo disc 2 or if there was a separate demo for raw data on PSVR. And I tried that demo and I was like, shit, this is really good. Raw data. And actually, I think I actually reached out to Servios and said, could I get a code for this? Because I kind of want to see just how good this is on PSVR. And I was really impressed because the way I felt about raw data on PSVR is like they took 85% of that HTC Vive raw data experience and squeezed it onto PSVR intact, like 85% of the experience. And that is incredible, you know, because I mean, think about, you got to have a $1,500 gaming PC and you got to have a Vive or a Rift or whatever. So you're up in the 2000-ish era. I mean, you're in the 2000-ish dollar range, and raw data on PSVR works pretty freaking good. I was really impressed by that. But yeah, I don't know. Raw data on the Rift is kind of weird. Mr. Bighead says, hello. What is up, Mr. Bighead? Welcome to have you. Sparhawk, Ninja Theory, after the launch of Hellblade, said they were going to work on a VR game. Think they still are since they were acquired by Microsoft. Did Ninja Theory... did Ninja Theory do Dexed? D-E-X-E-D? Or was that somebody else? I'm mixing them up with somebody else. The problem is with a lot of companies that maybe said they were thinking of doing a VR game like a number of months ago, some of those companies have changed their mind now, and they're probably going to delay that a little bit. So, you know, but like Paradise Decay is saying, so many games are released daily on Steam that it does get kind of crazy. So we might not be getting a lot of these big AAA games, but we're getting a lot of stuff to work with. Okay, let me switch off the Forest trailer because I've been running this a bit long. I'll throw this Paper Valley trailer on here just because it happens to be in this folder. There is Paper Valley. What is your favorite VR headset? This is Mr. Bighead. Well, Mr. Bighead, I'll tell you that I try to think of myself as not being a fanboy of any particular headset. You know, I don't really care. But my favorite headset right now, I would say, like if somebody came to me and said, dude, I want to buy a VR headset right now. Do I buy the Vive Pro? Do I buy a regular Vive? Do I buy a Rift? Do I get one of these Windows mixed realities? Maybe I get a Samsung. You know, what do I do? I would tell them, especially when the Rift is like $350 for the Rift or whatever, I would say, you know what, get an Oculus Rift. And the reason why I would tell them to go in that direction is really, it's because of the controllers. It's because of the touch controllers. The touch controllers are just fantastic. They just did an outstanding job. Credit where credit is due. I know there's people out there that cannot stand Facebook. And, you know, from a political standpoint, they do not want to support anything to do with Oculus. And I understand that. And that's fine. You know, if you want to have a political take like that, I respect that. I respect that. But the Oculus Rift controllers, the touch controllers, basically seal the deal for me. So I would recommend an Oculus Rift. You know, and so that's kind of my take on there. But, you know, does the Vive have some advantages on the Rift? It does. Like the biggest downside of the Rift is you got to wire your USB cameras all over the damn place, and they have to have wires running back to your PC. I have a black ceiling up here, so I can hide my wires real easily. I don't know what you guys do that don't have black ceilings and you want to have like 3 sensors and not have it look like ass everywhere. So having lighthouses is a huge advantage. The other really nice advantage with HTC Vive is if you take off the standard HTC Vive facial foam gasket, and if you make like a really super thin foam gasket, like 3 millimeters, super thin, right? You can really get up into that HTC Vive headset and you will have extra field of view. I did that with my HTC Vive, man. If anybody's watching this right now and you have a regular HTC Vive, I don't know if you can do this with the Pro, but if you have a regular HTC Vive, you gotta try this because I think it is a game changer. You get yourself some thin foam, you cut it out in the exact shape of your gasket, and just, it's almost like if you took your foam padding off and just with the plastic and just put it right into your face. The improvement in FOV is huge. It is a huge jump in FOV, but if you get a little bit of thin foam, then it doesn't quite hurt your forehead and your cheekbones and all of that. It's not super comfortable, but man, you get such a boost in FOV, and I do miss that. That is one thing I absolutely miss from my Vive. See what people are talking about here. Chris Gould says Dext was not good. Charles Van Nolan, yeah, Rift's touch controllers are dope. They're just the best controllers right now. They're just the best controllers right now. Charles Van Nolan says hating on Facebook means being stuck with crappy HTC customer support when things go sideways, unless you want inside-out tracking and you go the Microsoft route. One of the problems with the Microsoft route, though, is your IPD. If you have a really large IPD, you are screwed. And see, I have a really large IPD, so I guess the Samsung does have more of an adjustment for IPD, but that's something like Microsoft needs to have a second wave of the mixed reality headsets that have movable IPD adjustment, like legit IPD adjustment. That's one of the reasons I haven't grabbed one of them Microsoft mixed realities. Although that deal where they had it for $150, like the refurbished Acer, I think is $150. I apologize, guys, because like my throat is like super dry. I wish I had a little cup of water here, but I don't. Probably should have a cup of water here. But anyway, why don't I switch this trailer up one time, and then I'll bounce over to the PSVR subreddit, see if anything's going on over there. I'll put on Robots Rescue. This is an oldie but a goodie. Oh, I gotta resize this. Robots Rescue.
Oh, this immediately puts me into a happy mood.
Ah, dude's talking on there. Okay, let me bounce over to the PSVR subreddit, see if there's anything new anybody's talking about. Eurogamer, the Persistence might be PSVR's scariest game yet. Really? Really? Because Resident Evil 7 is pretty goddamn scary. So if the Persistence is scarier than that, that is pretty crazy. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are playing the Persistence. So I guess there are some YouTubers out there that did get some codes for this. Is there people still playing Spark? That's one of the problems of all these multiplayer games in VR is the audience just disappears real quick. If it doesn't catch on right away, man, that's kind of one of the things where I'm glad I'm not really into multiplayer games that much, because I don't get burnt in a lot of these games where the audience disappears into the mist and there's no audience there for it. Yeah, nothing going on PSVR subreddit, nothing major that I'm seeing here. Basically just this Eurogamer saying the persistence is incredibly scary. I'm going back to Oculus, nothing really going on here. And I'm going to bounce back to Vive real quick. Just quick check on all these real quick. Not seeing anything really over here. Okay, let me just go back to chat. Microsoft need one headset. Same problem as Steam's attempt at making a console. Choice is not always a good thing for the consumer. Well, see, Microsoft didn't want to make a headset themselves. That's why they kind of licensed this reference design to all these other companies. And to get them to do it, they basically gave them all their HoloLens tracking technology. They kind of gave them their HoloLens tracking technology right off the top there. Persistence on PSVR is getting some good feedback. That's good. I like the persistence demo that's on demo disc number 2. I thought that demo is pretty good. How do you fix the problem in the Playroom VR where the controller in the game world gets more and more backwards even if your controller in the real world is facing forwards? That could be reflections. You might have some reflections in the background. I had this one time I was playing Skyrim VR and I was having a great time in Skyrim VR on PlayStation VR, just absolutely loving it. And then one day I play Skyrim VR and like my sword and shield is like over here. And I'm like, no, I'm standing right here. Why are my sword and shield over there? And what I found out was my wife put this really big like poster thing on the wall that has like a glass over it that is just Reflection City. And it totally destroyed my PSVR experience, and I didn't even realize it for like weeks. I just thought Skyrim was busted. And then I finally looked around the room and I'm like, oh, I don't remember that being there. So that could be part of it there. With PSVR, you got to worry about like what's behind you, reflections behind you. The only other thing is like get in front of your camera, hold down that select button for a couple seconds to resync yourself right in front of it. Sometimes you have to do that. Hussein X says, I play Spark. There's usually people playing most of the time. Are you on PlayStation or are you on like Rift or Vive? I have Spark actually on PlayStation, but I don't have a PlayStation I don't have PlayStation, what is it? PlayStation Network or whatever. I don't have their online thing. PlayStation Plus. Can you believe I don't have PlayStation Plus? That's how cheap I am. So when I play Spark on there, it's a good exercise game, man. Spark is a great exercise game. But you know what, guys? My throat is killing me. I absolutely need water super bad. We have been going for over an hour. It's amazing that we've actually been able to make a show out of this because, like I said, when I started today, I had no topics to work with. Look at how beautiful Little Robots Rescue is. Like, that's such a beautiful game, such a beautiful the cutest character in the world. And then the way they put your controller in the game, I mean, Moss, Polyarch learned a lot with this because they put your controller in the game and you have this cute little adorable character. It's just such a great idea. This is why I'm so jazzed for Astrobot coming probably November of this year. This is why I'm jazzed for it because it's just adorable. And this is a third-person game, and they did it right. Now, see, the advantage Sony has, though, you see that DualShock controller that is in the game, it is a tracked controller. And that's why I think Oculus with CV2, Vive, whenever they come out with a legit consumer version 2, they got to somehow think about a tracked controller. I know they don't want to really do that because then it's another accessory and everything, but I think it will help all these third-party things. Let me just take one last look at chat before I bounce out of here. Got to scroll way down. Okay. Paradise Decay says, I like that with Red Matter, how it uses your touch controllers in-game and animate them. Yeah, Red Matter, Vertical Robot, man, those guys did such a damn good job. Just everything just looks so good in Vertical Robot. Just the game engine, the textures, clarity, the music. Again, I'm on a 970. I don't got like a high-end setup, and Red Matter runs beautifully. I might be a little bit overhyped on Red Matter compared to a lot of people, but oh well. Hussein X says he plays Spark on Rift, but he believes there's cross-play with PSVR. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you know, Spark was hella cheap the other day. Wasn't it like $8.07? I was almost tempted to grab it on one of my other platforms, because then I could get into multiplayer and not have to, you know, that's the thing. PlayStation Plus, it's like this old console theory of paying extra money to play multiplayer when you get used to PC gaming where multiplayer is just straight up free. Oh, IPCSK says, grab some water, Anthony. We will wait. Yeah. You know, it's just one of the things, man. We've gone over an hour, so it's all right. I'll go ahead and stop this stream. Oh, I do need to mention, I don't think did I say this already? There will not be an episode at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Okay, so don't tune in on Tuesday. I will not be here at 10 a.m. However, I'm hoping, but no promises, I'm hoping to do a nighttime episode, 8 p.m. Pacific time for the night birds, you know, the late birds out there. So if anybody is on like the West Coast, probably be a good time for you. People in the East Coast, though, it's going to be damn late for people in the East Coast. And people in the UK, you're going to still be in REM sleep, or you're going to be just waking up to your rooster outside. So it's going to be super late. Admit it, you are playing No Man's Sky. No, I'm not playing No Man's Sky. Although that'd be cool if they had that in VR. No Man's Sky in VR would be cool. All right, so I am going to go ahead and bounce out of here, but thanks everybody for joining me. Thanks for dealing with all of the, you know, the weird issues with volume and all of that, and, you know, just some of the little janky issues I've had doing this show over the last 4 or 5 days. But eventually I will kind of dial this in and it'll get a little bit better, so hopefully it'll work out from that standpoint. Alrighty, well, oh shit, I'm resized. Can't do an outro with my video jacked up, so we'll do it one more time. Take number 2. Alright everybody, that did not happen. Thank you so much for watching Daily Vlog Live. I think it's episode 154 or something like that, and I will see everybody Monday at 10 a.m. See you guys then. Later.